Ever stop and think about just how much life there is on Earth? We're talking millions upon millions of species. From the tiniest bacteria to the biggest blue whale, everything has its place. So today, we're going to dive into how exactly we make sense of it all, the amazing science of biological classification.
I mean, really, how do you even start a project that massive? It's like trying to organize a library with millions of books, but none of them have a title or an author on the cover. It's just this overwhelming, beautiful chaos of diversity. Well, science loves a good challenge.
And that's where biological classification comes in. It's the grand system we use to create a library of life. We sort every single organism into groups based on what they have in common and what makes them different. It's basically our roadmap to understanding the entire tree of life.
But you know, a system this complex doesn't just pop into existence overnight. It had to start somewhere. And like any great idea, it began with a first draft. Some early, pretty basic attempts to bring a little order to the natural world.
One of the first people to really give it a shot was Aristotle. He kept it simple, you know? He looked at plants and said, okay, we've got trees, shrubs, and herbs. For animals, it was, do you have red blood or not? Then, centuries later, Carolus Linnaeus came along and made things a bit more formal with his two-kingdom system. Everything, and I mean everything, was either a plant or an animal, period.
And for a good long while, that two-kingdom system seemed to work just fine. It was straightforward, easy to grasp, but as science tends to do, it kept moving forward. And as our tools and our knowledge got better, that simple system started to fall apart at the seams.
Okay, let's look at the logic. It made sense at the time. If it has a cell wall and makes its own food from sunlight, boom, it's a plant. If it doesn't have a cell wall and has to eat stuff, well, that's an animal. Simple, right? Turns out, nature is full of organisms that just love to break the rules.
The first major headache was fungi. I'm talking about mushrooms, molds, you name it. They have cell walls, so Linnaeus and others just tossed them in with the plants. But wait a minute, they don't do photosynthesis. They get their energy by decomposing other things. So they weren't really plants at all, were they?
Then, as microscopes got more powerful, we discovered a whole new world of tiny life. Bacteria became a huge puzzle. Sure, they have cell walls, so again, into the plant kingdom they went. But their cells are radically different. They're prokaryotes. They don't even have a nucleus. Plants and animals are eukaryotes. This was a massive, fundamental difference.
And what in the world do you do with something like an amoeba? It's a single cell, but it moves around and eats things, just like an animal. The whole two-kingdom system was really built for big, multicellular things you could see. It just didn't have a good spot for these complex, single-celled life forms.
So you can see the problem here, right? The old system just wasn't cutting it anymore. It was mixing up fundamentally different kinds of cells, prokaryotes and eukaryotes. It had no good answer for single-celled versus multi-celled life, and it was lumping things like fungi and plants together just because they both had cell walls. Science needed a total reboot.
And that reboot, that revolution, came in 1969. A biologist named R.H. Whitaker stepped up and proposed a truly elegant solution that fixed all the major problems of the old way. He gave us a new framework, the five-kingdom classification.
Now this is the master key. Whitaker's genius was that he didn't just look at one or two things. He used a whole bunch of criteria. What kind of cell is it? What's its cell wall made of? Is it a single cell or a complex body? And how does it get its food? And just like that, everything clicked into place. All the prokaryotes, the bacteria, got their own kingdom Monera. All the weird single-celled eukaryotes like amoeba, they went into kingdom Protista. And fungi finally got their own kingdom, recognized for the unique organisms they are.
So with this brand new map of life, let's do a quick tour, shall we? We'll go through each of the five kingdoms and see what really makes them tick.
First up, we have Kingdom Monera. This is the exclusive club for all bacteria. These guys are the original life forms on our planet, and they are literally everywhere.
The number one thing to know about Monera, they're all prokaryotes. Their cells are simple, with no real nucleus to hold their DNA. They are by far the most numerous organisms on Earth. You'll find them in the most extreme places you can imagine. We're talking boiling hot springs, super salty lakes, you name it. This kingdom is even home to mycoplasma, the smallest living cells we know of.
All right, next stop, Kingdom Protista. If Monera is for the simple prokaryotes, Protista is basically the home for all the single-celled organisms that have a more complex eukaryotic cell structure.
The protists are an incredibly diverse bunch. Most of them live in water, and it's kind of a catch-all kingdom for anything from the shape-shifting amoeba to algae-like diatoms. What's really cool is that this kingdom acts as a kind of evolutionary bridge, linking the very first complex cells to the three huge multicellular kingdoms: plants, fungi, and animals.
Our third stop is a kingdom that finally gets the respect it deserves: Kingdom Fungi. These guys aren't plants. They are the planet's great decomposers. So unlike plants, fungi can't make their own food. They're heterotrophs, absorbing nutrients from the world around them. And their cell walls are really unique. They're not made of cellulose like plants, but from a tough material called chitin. From the yeast that makes our bread rise to mushrooms on a forest floor, fungi are absolutely essential for breaking down dead stuff and recycling nutrients.
And that brings us to the two kingdoms we know the best. First, Kingdom Plantae. These are the producers, the foundation of almost every ecosystem. They're multicellular, they make their own food through photosynthesis, and their tough cellulose cell walls give them their structure. And then there's us, Kingdom Animalia. We're the consumers. We're multicellular, but we have to eat other things to get energy. The big thing that defines us is what we don't have: cell walls. And that's our superpower. That flexibility is what allows for all the movement we see: running, flying, swimming, the whole shebang.
So, there we have it. 5 neat and tidy kingdoms that seem to cover just about everything. But what about the really weird stuff? The things that blur the line of what it even means to be alive?
Right, viruses. They don't fit into any of the 5 kingdoms, and the reason is fascinating. They aren't technically made of cells. Outside of a host, a virus is just an inert little package of genetic material. It's only when it infects a living cell that it wakes up and hijacks the cell's machinery to make more of itself. This puts them in this bizarre gray area, not really living, but not exactly non-living either.
And believe it or not, it gets even simpler and stranger. You have viroids, which are even more stripped down than viruses. They're just a tiny piece of infectious RNA with no protein code at all. And then you have prions, which are the weirdest of all. They are infectious agents made of nothing but a misfolded protein. Just protein. These acellular oddballs are constantly forcing us to rethink our definitions of life.
You know, this whole journey from Aristotle's simple groups to Whitaker's 5 kingdoms really shows you how science works. It's a constant process of refining our understanding. And these outliers, the viruses, the prions, they remind us that the book of life is still being written. They force us to ask a really deep question. As they rewrite the biological rules of their hosts, are they also forcing us to rewrite the fundamental rules of life itself?